Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, it's nice and all, but I'm sad to announce that it's too little too late, or at least that's what it seems. As per usual, people like Bill Maher are way behind the trend. Bill Maher, supposed big brain political analyst, who's supposedly at the cutting edge of the industry, once again is lagging about a decade behind. As per usual, Democrats only realize that what they're doing is bad after decades of failed implementation. Only once their failures start to hit critical mass and the social and political ramifications or backfire starts to kick in, do they then acknowledge the basic reality? Bill Maher, as he pretends to be woke and so smart and so ahead of the curve, is now realizing that identity politics and forced diversity is probably a bad thing. I guess all it took was the possibility of a second Trump term to start flashing the light of reality into their eyes. Now, of course, we're expecting that to be a little bit of a momentary flash, not a full come-to-realization moment. I guess the Democrats' political lives are flashing before their very eyes. A little bit of truth is coming out, of course, with a little bit of sprinkled in panic, desperation, and delusion, and of course denials. Let's cover all of it. Let's take a look at what Bill Maher said, and then some CNN clips. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so as per usual, big brain politics guy, master of it all, Bill Maher, is 10 years late to the party. He tweets this directly to the Democrat Party, at the Democrats, saying the Democrats should move on from identity politics. It's not working. They are hemorrhaging the very voters that they think they're pandering to.
I do give a shit who wins the next election. And outdated racial pandering is one reason Democrats lose elections. When Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi put on kente cloth, I don't think it earned them one vote for their powerful emotional ties to Ghana. Here in California, we're now segregating kidnapping. Really. California doesn't just have Amber Alerts for missing children. We have Ebony Alerts for black children and Feather Alerts for Native American kids. What is that? We look for them by listening on the ground? Today's Democrats should move on from identity politics. It's not working. It's not working for them or for us. Democrats are hemorrhaging the very voters they think they're pandering to. The Financial Times writes, Democrats are going backwards faster with voters of color than any other demographic, and suggests the reason is that a less racially divided America is an America where people vote more based on their beliefs than their identity. Exactly. Far-left liberals are living in an old paradigm. Americans don't fit into neat little boxes anymore. The biggest news star in country is Jelly Roll, who was a drug dealer, then a prisoner, then a rapper, and then a face-tatted country music star. Not to mention a giant middle finger to the idea of staying in your own lane. No. In America now, you're allowed to be many things all at once, and that's a good thing, even when it's really stupid. Look, we're all Jelly Roll now. We're sloppy, complicated, and contradictory. You're still building your politics around slicing and dicing people into these fixed categories. Democrats need to get the memo that you can't win elections anymore by automatically assuming you're going to get every voter who's not these guys. The more you obsess over identity, the more you ignore the bread and butter issues that win and lose elections. The real issue is class, not race, and the real gap is the diploma divide, and the real future of the party and maybe democracy depends on Democrats figuring that out.
Yeah, you think? I mean, let's just talk about the black vote, for instance. In an ideal world, this is how a political relationship would work. You appeal to a specific voter group, you say, I'm going to make your life better. Elect me, and we'll increase your standard of living, make life safer, your kids will be well educated, taken care of, grow up in a safe environment. You know, the basics. The idea should be transactional in nature. You elect somebody to represent you in office, who then in turn returns value back to you. That's in an ideal world. But in our world, the way it works is you achieve absolutely nothing, but you put a whole lot of effort into culture, the diversity mask, let's call it, phony tokenization and representation, no results, but you will walk out on stage with Jay-Z and Beyonce for the culture. No results, but you will go on Charlemagne's show to talk about having hot sauce in your purse.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce. Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people.
Okay, Is it working?
No results, but you will go on Charlemagne the God's show and say if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
In other words, we don't live in an ideal world. We live in friggin' Democrat clown world. And now all of a sudden, big brain Bill Maher, in the year 2024, now finally realizes how vapid, condescending, and cringe this blatant, empty, pandering nonsense has been. Well, I'm afraid it's too little too late. And unfortunately for the fake weirdos like Bill Maher, who all of a sudden want to seem as though they're the common sense Democrats, it doesn't seem like the Democrat Party gets it. I played this clip the other day, but might as well play it again. Here's Hakeem Jeffries, failing to accept the basic reality here.
I want to show you this New York Times Siena College poll that found that both black and Hispanic voters say that Donald Trump's policies have helped them more than Joe Biden's policies by pretty wide margins, especially when you look at Hispanic voters. Is that alarming to you, that nothing that the Biden campaign has said or done to this point has brought that at least closer than it is right now in this polling?
The Biden administration has an incredible track record of support in making sure that it is working at all times to build an economy from the middle out and the bottom up as opposed to the top down.
No, they don't, he says. Well, that's an interesting statement. I guess we ought to come in here and fact check. That was on CNN's show where Hakeem Jeffries was faced with data suggesting that black and Hispanic voters both agree to varying degrees that Donald Trump's policies were more favorable to them than Joe Biden's. He denies that data. Well, the data doesn't lie. And it's not just one poll with a small sample size. The polls just keep on stacking and stacking and stacking, and here's CNN in utter shock, left with no choice but to accept the reality, the clear reality and clear trend that we've been analyzing for years.
So let's break this down by race, right? Let's look at voters of color, look at white voters. And what we see here is back in 2020, according to the exit poll, Joe Biden won voters of color in Michigan by 62 points. Look at that advantage today. It has been sliced by a third, only 21 points. That's Joe Biden's lead over Donald Trump among voters of color. Among white voters, Donald Trump has gained a little bit of steam as well. It was 11 points in 2020. His margin over Joe Biden right now is 16 points. But this decline in support for Joe Biden among voters of color in Michigan is something we've been seeing in state after state after state and nationally as well, where he's got some big problems. This is a historic low amount of support for a Democratic presidential candidate among voters of color, and it seems to be happening across the board, Kate.
We are witnessing an undeniable wake-up call. Seems as though people are realizing that Republicans aren't racist because they don't obsess over race and make everything about race, constantly racializing policy, culture, and academics. You probably shouldn't be weary, shouldn't be suspicious over people who refuse to get into these weird racial dynamics, race baiting, and of course race pandering. And you should probably be highly suspicious over the snake oil salesman who promises you everything in the world, pretends to be down with your culture, but then fails to deliver even on the basics. Standard of living, education, public safety, economic growth and opportunity, prosperity. We haven't seen any significant gains, especially not for those at the bottom of the economic totem pole. But what you will see is the Biden administration releasing a graphic like this: Biden-Harris delivering for black Americans. Record low black unemployment. Black wealth is up 60%. Essentially what they're celebrating is the wealthiest black American stock portfolios performing admirably during the Joe Biden era of endless money printing. Then, of course, followed up with more diversity on the last line. You know, it's a complete farce. What have they actually accomplished in terms of literacy rates or math competency? They're celebrating great success because LeBron James, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Oprah's stock portfolios bounced back from the pandemic, yet regular people are falling further and further behind, and that applies to all people. Nope, the typical Democrat slap in the face. We're doing fantastic. Pat yourself on the back. Do a giant victory lap as people are getting poorer and poorer, struggling just to maintain. A bunch of out-of-touch, pompous elitists who simply prey on the concept of race to financially and politically benefit themselves. And it seems as though finally people are waking up to that fact, because Bill Maher probably wouldn't be panicking when the elitist Hollywood liberals are realizing the error of their ways. You know, the grift isn't working. I guess that's your confirmation. That's also what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.